She said I wasn't ambitious. So she found a real man. That's how she phrased it, like she was trading in an old phone. I'm Jake Miller, and the night she said those words, something in me cracked so loud I swear I could hear it over the hum of our cheap refrigerator. Her name is Ashley. Blonde, perfect Instagram smile. The kind of woman who knows exactly how to tilt her head so the world loves her a little too fast. When we first met, she used to brag that I was the only calm in her chaos. Somewhere along the line, calm turned into boring, and chaos became the lifestyle she wanted full-time. That night, she came home late. Again, it was a Tuesday around midnight. I remember because I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop, pretending to work on some half-broken app prototype while my eyes kept drifting to the clock. My job at the time? Mid-level project manager at a software company where the coffee was free, but the respect definitely wasn't. The door clicked open. Ashley walked in like she was stepping onto a runway, heels in her hand, hair slightly messy, red lipstick fading at the corners. She smelled like someone else's cologne buried under expensive perfume. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "You're late." She rolled her eyes. "Hi to you too, Jake. I was out with friends. People who actually go places." I swallowed whatever comeback tried to climb on my throat. I'd already noticed the new dresses, the sudden obsession with networking events, the way her phone lived face down. Tonight, it all felt louder. "Which friends?" I asked. "Why?" She tossed her handbag on the counter. "You gonna send out attendance sheets now?" "I'm just asking, Ash." She laughed. That sharp little laugh she reserved for when she wanted to make me feel small. "God, Jake, you're so exhausting. Every time I go out, you turn into this insecure little hall monitor." That stung more than I wanted to admit. I kept my hands wrapped around my coffee mug like it was the only thing anchoring me. "You've been different lately," I said quietly. "More secretive. You're on your phone all the time. Late nights. New clothes. I'm not stupid." She froze for a second. Just a second. Then the mask slid right back on. "You know what your problem is?" she said, walking over and leaning on the opposite side of the table. "You're obsessed with playing detective instead of actually doing something with your life." "I go to work, Ash." "I'm trying. Trying." She snorted. "You clock in, clock out, and come home to your little laptop and your little dreams. You talk about building something big, starting your own thing, launching some app that will change the game." She even did the air quotes. "But where is it, Jake? Where's this big life you keep promising?" My chest tightened. "It takes time." "Time." She straightened up, shaking her head. "Newsflash. I'm not here to be the supportive wife of a man who might make it someday. I want results. I want a man who actually moves, who takes risks, who doesn't hide behind someday like a scared little boy." It wasn't just what she said. It was how she looked at me when she said it. Like I was already a failure she'd been too patient with. "You said you love my ideas," I muttered. "I love the fantasy," she snapped. "But I'm done living off fantasies." She grabbed her phone off the counter. The screen lit up, and in that tiny glow I saw it. One preview line of message from a name I didn't recognize. "Brandon, you make me forget she even exists. When can I see you again?" My stomach dropped. My brain tried to tell me it could be innocent. That Brandon might be just a friend, a coworker, a typo, any excuse. But Ashley's eyes flickered to the screen, then to me, and for the first time she looked worried, just for a heartbeat. Then she locked the phone and slid it into her back pocket like nothing happened. "Who's Brandon?" I asked. My voice sounded calm. Too calm. "Seriously?" She laughed again, but there was a tremor under it now. "He's just someone from the gym. Relax. A guy from a gym who texts you that you make him forget she even exists." Her jaw tightened. "You reading my text now?" They lit up in my face. She sighed dramatically. "You're unbelievable. You twist everything. It was a joke. You know what? This is exactly what I mean. A real man would trust his woman instead of snooping." There it was. The phrase that would become a scar. "A real man," I repeated softly. She folded her arms. "Yeah, a real man. Someone who actually has ambition. Someone who doesn't just talk about startups and ideas and promotions, but actually gets them. I'm tired of waiting for you to become that man. Maybe I deserve someone who already is." I stared at her, and suddenly the apartment felt too small, too bright, too loud. The humming fridge, the ticking clock, the soft buzz of the street outside. All of it blurred into one long, numb sound. "So what are you saying, Ashley?" I asked. "I'm saying," she said slowly, like she was explaining something to a child, "you're not ambitious, Jake. And I'm done pretending that's enough for me." My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. "And this real man, is he Brandon?" She held my gaze. No flinching, no scham, just cold, calculated arrogance. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe not. Does it matter? Because he's not whining about life. He's out there making things happen. And when I'm with him, I don't feel like I'm stuck." She turned away, heading toward the bedroom. The conversation, in her mind, was over. Just another argument she decided she'd already won. I sat there at the table, staring at the empty doorway, my hands shaking around a mug of cold coffee. In that moment, I didn't know yet that the messages were only the surface. That there were hotel rooms, lies stacked on lies, friends who knew and stayed quiet. That the words "you're not ambitious" would follow me into every sleepless night for months. All I knew was this. The woman I married had just looked me in the eye and compared me to another man, and I had come up short. I didn't realize it yet, but that was the night I started becoming the man she said I wasn't. The night her insult turned into fuel. The night the story really began. If part one was the slap, part two was the punch that knocked the wind out of me. The morning after Ashley told me I wasn't ambitious enough, she acted like nothing happened. She floated around the apartment humming pop songs, scrolling through her phone, laughing at messages she refused to show me. The cruelty of it wasn't the laugh itself. It was the way she made sure I heard it. Like she wanted me to know someone else was giving her a reason to smile. I tried to go to work, but my head was a battlefield. Every line of code I stared at looked like her name. Every ping on my phone made my pulse spike. By noon, I wasn't thinking about software anymore. I was thinking about Brandon and that message and the smirk she wore when she walked away. That was the first time I realized something terrifying doubt doesn't whisper. It screams. When I got home that night, Ashley wasn't there. The living room lights were off. The air smelled like expensive perfume and lies. Her heels were gone. Her networking dress was missing. She hadn't even bothered to leave a note. I tried telling myself she was at yoga class, that she was with friends, that I was inventing problems because of insecurity. But lies don't hold weight against intuition, not when the truth is clawing at your ribs. I sat down at her vanity, something I had never done. Her makeup brushes were scattered like tiny weapons, each one coated in colors meant to seduce someone who wasn't me. And that's when I saw it. Her laptop, open just a crack. Ashley never left her laptop unlocked. Ever. A sane man would have closed it. But I wasn't sane anymore. Her messages were still open. Her chats, her photos, her browser tabs, and her little secret life. First was a conversation thread labeled Brandon, private. Not Brandon from the gym. Not Brandon from a networking event. Brandon Pierce, 35, divorced, owns a personal training studio downtown. The kind of guy who calls every photo of himself a journey and thinks motivational quotes are currency. It started harmless. Compliments, laughs, emojis. Then hotel reservations. Then voice messages labeled "can't stop thinking about last night." Pictures, her in outfits I'd never seen, poses she never made for me. Then something worse. Ashley telling him how she wished she had met him before she wasted years with me. Years. Like our marriage was a bad investment. My vision blurred. I blinked hard, thinking maybe I misunderstood. But the more I scrolled, the darker it got. She talked about me like I was furniture. Like I was some placeholder man warming the house until the real man showed up. Then I found something that made my pulse freeze. Ashley, he's too slow. Too safe. He'll never be CEO. He's not built for greatness. I can't spend my life watching him fail. She didn't just cheat on me. She bet against me. That's a different kind of betrayal, cold, calculated, strategic. My hands trembled as I kept digging. She wasn't just seeing Brandon. There were bookings, dinners, notes about my man that didn't refer to me. She had a whole future planned without me. Divorce wasn't even a question. She was preparing to discard me like a coffee cup she finished drinking from. The nausea hit so hard I had to sit down. I stared at her screen, surrounded by the perfume of someone who never intended to stay. The apartment walls seemed too tight, like even the air knew I didn't belong there anymore. Sudden events kept unfolding like dominoes I didn't know I'd set up. My phone buzzed. Ashley. A text. Probably home late. Don't wait up. No heart emoji. No explanation. Not even my name. That was the moment something inside me flipped. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was clarity. I wasn't losing Ashley. I was losing the version of her I had invented. The woman I loved never existed. She was a mask, a smile stretched over greed, ambition, and a hunger for status I could never satisfy. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a trophy, and I wasn't shiny enough. I closed her laptop gently, stood up, and walked to the mirror. I didn't recognize the man staring back. Eyes cracked open, jaw clenched, a quiet fury forming where naive love used to live. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to become what she wanted. For the first time, I wanted something for myself. And she had no idea what that would turn me into. I always thought confrontations were like explosions, loud, chaotic, destructive. Turns out, the worst ones are quiet, controlled, precise, like a surgeon cutting exactly where it hurts most. Ashley came home at 2:14 a.m. Not 2:10, not 2:30, exactly 2:14, like she had rehearsed the timing. Her perfume hit the air first, followed by her laugh, soft and smug like she had swallowed someone else's happiness. She didn't notice me sitting in the dark on the couch. Had fun? I asked. She froze. Not dramatically, just a tiny glitch in her movement, like her software crashed for a split second. Then she composed herself, flicked on the lights, and smirked. Jesus, Jake, don't do the creepy sitting in the dark thing. It's pathetic. Pathetic. That was her favorite word lately. She used it like a scalpel, cutting pieces of me off one insult at a time. We need to talk, I said. She dropped her keys on the counter, shrugged off her jacket, and poured herself a glass of water like she wasn't about to walk into a minefield. Let me guess, she sighed. You want to discuss your feelings again because I didn't come home at your bedtime. For a moment, I studied her. The way she crossed her arms like a queen who already sentenced me. The arrogance in her stance. She was fully confident she controlled the battlefield. She had no idea I'd read her messages. Who's Brandon Pierce? I asked. Her eyelashes fluttered. Not much, just enough. A tremor. A crack. Then came a laugh. Cold. Dismissive. Weaponized. Oh my God, she said, waving her hand. You're still on that? He's just a guy from a gym? I cut in. Or the one who books hotel rooms under initials. The one who said you make him forget she exists. Her face snapped shut like a trap. The game changed instantly. Her mask didn't slip, it shattered. Were you spying on me? She hissed. Your laptop was open. So you invaded my privacy? A married woman doesn't have privacy when she hides another man inside it. Her voice sharpened. This is exactly why I left emotionally months ago. You suffocate everything. I laughed. I didn't mean to. It just burst out of me. A broken, exhausted laugh from someone who had nothing left to lose. You left emotionally? I repeated. Ashley, you didn't leave emotionally. You packed up your morals and moved into another man's bed. Her eyes narrowed. At least he believes in something. At least he acts. You've been stuck in the same job, the same routine, the same fantasies. And I'm supposed to die waiting for you to become someone worth standing next to. There it was. It wasn't about love. It was about optics. I wasn't a husband to her, just an accessory she upgraded. So Brandon is the upgrade? I asked. She smiled. A cruel, slow, venomous smile that didn't belong to a human being capable of love. He's a man with ambition, Jake. Something you pretend you have. That was the moment the anger finally found me. Not the wild, explosive kind, but something worse. Calm fury. The kind that thinks, plans, sharpens itself. You know what's funny? I said, you think ambition comes from someone handing you validation. You don't understand what it looks like when it's growing quietly in a man who isn't performing for an audience. She scoffed. Are you done? No, I said. We aren't done until you answer one question. She rolled her eyes. Fine. What? If I became everything you say I'm not, if I got the job, the title, the success. Would you still want me? She didn't flinch. She didn't pause to think. She didn't pretend to soften it. No, she said, because by the time you finally do something, someone better will already have me. That sentence didn't just break me, it reshaped me. I stared at her, and suddenly, she wasn't my wife. She was a stranger wearing my wedding ring. I stood up, walked past her, and said something I never planned to say. Good. Then I'll become someone better, not to win you back, but to make sure you never stand close enough to touch me again. Ashley didn't respond. She didn't laugh. She didn't insult me. For the first time since this nightmare began, she looked scared, not of losing me, but of what I might become without her. And that was exactly the moment I decided. She wouldn't recognize the man I'd turn into next. People think change is dramatic, like fireworks, loud announcements, heroic music. It isn't. Real change is silent, ugly, uncomfortable. It happens when something inside you dies, and something else claws its way out of the ashes. The night after our confrontation, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, staring at my reflection in the black screen of the TV, thinking about every insult Ashley ever disguised as a joke. Every eye roll, every reminder that I wasn't enough. Every comparison to men who weren't me. Somewhere between midnight and sunrise, I realized something terrifying. I had been living my life like a man waiting for permission. Permission to succeed. Permission to take risks. Permission to become who I knew I could be. Ashley wasn't wrong when she said I had ideas. I did. I just never executed them. I let fear tuck me into bed every night while dreams paced around the room, restless and impatient. But now, fear had new competition. Rage. Not the violent kind, the productive kind. The kind that says, watch me. The next morning, I quit my job. My boss, Clarence Thompson, stared at me like I had confessed to murder. You don't want the promotion review? He asked. You've been here 6 years. No, I said. I want something that doesn't require permission. Clarence blinked, confused. Do you have another offer? No. Then this is insane. Maybe, I replied, but insanity built every company you admire. I walked out without a plan, without security, without a safety net. And for the first time in my life, I felt awake. My idea wasn't new. It had been rotting in my head for years. A platform that automated workflows for small teams, something lean and intuitive with predictive task management. I always told myself I'd build it when life settled down. Funny thing, betrayal settles everything faster than peace ever could. I buried myself in work. I coded until my fingers stiffened, built mock-ups, prototypes, pitch decks. I turned my living room into a war zone of sticky notes, flowcharts, and empty coffee cups. While Ashley was out with Brandon, laughing in restaurants and sliding into hotel rooms, I was forging something she couldn't touch. Ambition. Not borrowed. Not begged for. Mine. Days blurred into nights. Friends texted, wondering why I disappeared. I didn't respond. I didn't have energy for pity updates. Every line of code I wrote felt like reclaiming a piece of myself she tried to bury. And somewhere between debugging sessions and pitch calls, investors began listening. Not because I was brilliant, because I was relentless. One night, around 3 a.m., Ashley stumbled in again. Same perfume, same smirk, same belief she owned the world. She looked at the room, whiteboards covered in diagrams, my laptop glowing like a command center, and scoffed. What's this? She asked. Your little science project? No, I said calmly. My future. She rolled her eyes so hard her soul probably strained. Jake, please. You're not that guy. You never finish anything. You obsess over details, you overthink, and then you quit. That's who you are. That's who you'll always be. Not once did she ask what I was building. Not once did she show curiosity. She only cared whether she benefited from it. Good luck, she said, picking up her phone and heading toward the bedroom. By the time you figure out life, someone better will have already figured me out. But something in her voice cracked. Not loud, not visible, just a hairline fracture of doubt she tried to cover with arrogance. Because she saw something she never expected. I wasn't begging. I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't the man she could crush with a sentence. While she slept in the bed we once shared, I worked until the sun rose again. My fingers shook. My body ached. But the fire didn't go out. Not once. Because every insult she ever threw at me wasn't a wound anymore. It was fuel. 2 months later, I received the email that detonated everything. Subject: Appointment Confirmation, Chief Executive Officer. My heart stopped. I read it once. Twice. A third time, slowly. I was no longer the man Ashley dismissed. I was the CEO of a funded startup. A decision maker. A man who didn't wait for permission. And without knowing it, Ashley had built me. Not with love, but with disrespect. The irony tasted sweeter than revenge. She hadn't just underestimated me. She manufactured the version of me she always said I couldn't become. And soon, she was going to beg for a seat in the life she threw away. Success has a strange scent. It's not money, not luxury, not recognition. It smells like silence, the kind of silence that follows you the moment people who once ignored you suddenly run out of reasons not to look your way. 3 days after I was officially named CEO, I went to my first investor dinner. A chandelier-tier restaurant, glass floors, waiters who hovered like they were paid to worship. I sat at a table where everyone knew my name, nodded at my ideas, asked questions like my brain was currency. I didn't belong there. Until I did. At some point, my phone buzzed. I glanced down, expecting another congratulatory message. Instead, I saw a name that froze me more effectively than any winter storm. Ashley. It wasn't a call. It was a text. One word. Hey. I stared at it for a moment. Just 3 letters, yet dripping with entitlement. Like the slate was magically clean because she initiated contact. Like she still believed she was the sun and I'd orbit if she snapped her fingers. I didn't respond. Not because I was being dramatic. Because some messages deserve silence more than anger. But Ashley wasn't a woman who handled silence well. 2 hours later. Can we talk? 15 minutes after that. I heard something about your job. Then, did something big happen? Her curiosity wasn't emotional. It was strategic. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me she didn't get to control. By the time dessert arrived, my phone lit again. I'm outside your place. Please come home. The desperation wasn't subtle anymore. When I got home, she was waiting on the porch, arms crossed, trying to look composed. But her eyes, those carefully curated I always win eyes, were flickering. Like someone blew out the candle of her certainty. Jake, she breathed, forcing a soft smile. Can we talk? I unlocked the door without answering. If she wanted a conversation, she could earn it. She followed me inside and froze, like the walls themselves betrayed her. The living room wasn't chaotic anymore. It was organized, purposeful. Success didn't just change me. It rewired the air. You redecorated, she said, scanning the room as if she were looking for proof of her own irrelevance. No, I said. I rebuilt. She swallowed. I heard you got promoted. No, Irapia. Her face lit up, thinking I was correcting her upward. I got appointed. I clarified. See. Her smile died mid-breath. Ashley wasn't good at hiding shock. Her entire expression broke like thin glass. CEO, she repeated, as if the letters betrayed her. What happened to the man who never finishes anything? I asked. She stepped closer. Too close. The same way someone approaches a wallet they dropped and suddenly found again. Jake, I didn't mean everything I said. I was frustrated. I was scared. You were opportunistic, I corrected. You didn't want a partner. You wanted a prize. And when the prize didn't shine fast enough, you went shopping. She blinked rapidly. Her breathing changed. For the first time, she wasn't performing. She was losing. People make mistakes, she whispered, voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. We can start over. We can fix this. Ashley, I said calmly, you don't miss me. You miss the version of me that didn't exist yet. You want the benefits without the journey. That's not true, she protested. It is, I interrupted. You left when I was building. You came back when I became something someone else could brag about. You didn't love me. You loved the future you thought I might eventually give you. And when it took too long, you found someone who was already where you wanted to land. Her lip quivered. Don't do this, she pleaded. Don't throw us away now that you've finally become. I didn't become this because of you, I snapped. I became this in spite of you. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was execution. Then, as if her ego needed a dying breath, she said the line that sealed her fate. I made you stronger. I smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, but like someone who finally recognized the monster in the mirror and appreciated it. No, Sylvia, you made me ruthless, and now you're learning what a ruthless man does. Her eyes widened, realizing she was no longer the one in control. She didn't break my heart. She forged my spine, and now she wanted credit for the damage she caused. But this story wasn't heading toward reconciliation. It was marching toward a legendary answer, the one she would never forget. Begging has stages. First comes arrogance disguised as confidence, then confusion, then panic, and finally, the collapse. Ashley was standing in stage 3, panic. She wasn't crying yet, but her voice trembled like she was holding the tears hostage until she got what she wanted. The funny part? She still believed she deserved something from me. Jake, please, she whispered, stepping toward me as if I were a cliff edge she could still pull herself back from. We can work through this. People go through rough patches. We just lost ourselves for a moment. I tilted my head. Lost ourselves? No, Asli. You abandoned me mid-construction and came back once the building was finished. That's not love. That's real estate. She flinched. My words hit her harder than I expected. Maybe because she finally saw herself reflected exactly as she behaved. Not as the heroine in her fantasy, but as the villain in mine. Jake, I made mistakes, she insisted, voice shrill. But I never stopped believing in you. I laughed. Not loudly. Not mockingly. Just a small, tired laugh of a man who had outgrown his own illusions. You didn't believe in me, I said. You bet against me. You gambled my potential on another man's shortcuts. And you lost. Her mask cracked then, not physically, but emotionally. The carefully assembled persona she'd curated, confident, untouchable, superior, started to slip. For the first time, she looked human. Terrified. Small. Jake, just tell me what you want, she whispered. I'll do anything. There it was. The final stage. Collapse. Funny thing is, months ago, hearing her say she'd do anything to stay with me would have set my heart on fire. Now, it landed like a feather on steel. What I wanted wasn't her compliance. It was closure. I took a step closer, not threatening, not emotional, just deliberate. She held her breath, like each second might determine her fate. You want to know what I want? I asked. She nodded frantically. Yes. Yes. Tell me. I leaned in, my voice calm enough to make every word surgical. I want you to remember this moment every time you judge a man too early. Every time you confuse potential with failure. Every time you mistake a quiet builder for a broken dream. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. And most importantly, I continued, I want you to understand something you were never capable of seeing. Ambition isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It grows in silence, and then it arrives when no one is ready. Her breath hitched. Her eyes shimmered. Finally filling with the tears, she swore she'd never let me see. She still didn't understand what was coming. So please, she whispered, swallowing hard, can we try again? There it was. The question she expected to be her victory. I smiled, slow, calm, unstoppable. No, I said, you don't get a second chance at a life you walked away from. You don't get to claim a front row seat to a show you mocked before the curtains opened. You don't get to cheer now that the crowd is standing. Her face twisted in confusion. Anger bubbled behind her eyes. You're choosing pride over love? She spat. I shook my head. No, Asli. I'm choosing self-respect over scraps. She stiffened. Then I delivered the line. The answer that would echo longer than our marriage, louder than her betrayal, sharper than any insult she ever crafted. You said I wasn't ambitious. You were right. I wasn't. Because back then, my ambitions were small enough to include you. She choked on her breath. But now, I said, stepping back, my ambitions are too big to fit someone so small. Silence detonated between us. Her mouth opened, closed. No comeback, no insult, no oxygen. She stood there trembling, understanding something brutal. I didn't just reject her. I erased her. Not out of revenge, out of evolution. Ashley didn't lose me. She got left behind by a man she thought would never stand tall enough to look down at her. And now, I was done talking. The legend wasn't in what I built. It was in what I walked away from. If ending a relationship were a door closing, then Ashley expected it to slam. She expected shouting, chaos, maybe even a desperate chase. What she didn't expect was the quiet. The terrifying, irreversible quiet of a man who was truly done. After my legendary answer, she stood in the middle of the living room like a statue, expression wiped, ego shattered, plans evaporated. She looked like someone whose map had been burned. I didn't yell. I didn't ask her to leave. I simply turned away. And that was the moment she realized something brutal. Silence was my victory lap. She left without another word. No dramatique equisici, no slumming doors, no final insult. Just the echo of her heels tapping away from a life she'd assumed belonged to her forever. When the door clicked shut behind her, the weight I'd carried for years dissolved so quickly it made me dizzy. It wasn't freedom, it was oxygen. Fresh, unfiltered oxygen for the first time in a long time. I didn't check on her. I didn't stalk her social media. I didn't wonder if she was crying, plotting, or pretending. Ashley was no longer a factor in my life. She was a chapter one had finished reading. The strange part wasn't losing her. It was discovering how much of myself I could gain the moment she was gone. My days transformed. Investors called. Interviews followed. Articles with titles like Young CEO Disrupts Workflow Automation appeared online. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. It was chasing me. And the people who once shrugged at my ideas now leaned forward when I spoke. Success didn't change my personality. It changed everyone else's. With every headline, every handshake, every new opportunity, something became clearer. Ashley didn't just underestimate me. She defined me, and then got outrun by her own assumptions. But life isn't generous without irony. 3 weeks after she walked out, I ran into Brandon. Not on purpose. At a cafe. He didn't see me at first. He was hunched over his phone, face pale, eyes hollow. He looked nothing like the real man Ashley had advertised. He looked like a man who realized that trophies sometimes bite back. Then he noticed me. His jaw clenched, as if seeing me was an insult to his existence. "You think you won, don't you?" he muttered, voice barely above a whisper. I raised an eyebrow. "Won what?" He scoffed. "Ashley, the breakup. Whatever game you think you're playing." There it was. The delusion. He still believed this was a competition. "Brandon," I said calmly, "if you think Ashley was a prize, you don't understand the game." His face reddened. His shoulders stiffened. He leaned closer, voice sharp. "She said you cried when she left. Said you begged." I smiled. Not cruelly, just knowingly. "Interesting," I replied. "Did she tell you she begged to come back?" His expression cracked like a windshield hit by a rock. I didn't wait for a response. I stood, placed a hand on his shoulder, and delivered a truth heavy enough to collapse a man. "She didn't love me because I wasn't enough. She didn't love you because you weren't more. She loves the next finish line. You were just a pit stop." His eyes widened, realization dawning like a sunrise he didn't want to see. Ashley didn't choose him. She used him until something shinier appeared. He wasn't her destination. He was her excuse. I walked out of the cafe without another word, leaving him staring at a reflection he finally recognized. A man who mistook approval for affection. The more success rolled in, the more I saw the difference between ambition and hunger. Ambition builds. Hunger consumes. Ashley wasn't driven by vision. She was starved for validation. That kind of appetite doesn't settle. It migrates. And now that she couldn't feed on mine, she was starving. People say revenge is sweet. They're wrong. Revenge is irrelevant when evolution is the outcome. Ashley tried to measure my worth with her impatience. Now, she couldn't afford the cost of the man she walked away from. She didn't lose a husband. She lost the future she was supposed to brag about. A future that was already forgetting her. Some endings burn. Others fade. But the most powerful ones don't make noise at all. They settle like truth, heavy and permanent, reshaping everything that comes after. I didn't plan a grand finale. No revenge plot. No courtroom spectacle. no carefully orchestrated exposure. Life handled that for me in ways I couldn't have scripted better if I tried. Ashley didn't disappear from my orbit immediately. She hovered, like a ghost of a life I no longer recognized. She sent messages, long apologies, short apologies, late-night apologies. She wrote paragraphs begging for closure, which was ironic, because closure is never given by the one who shattered something. It's earned by the one who heals. And I had already healed enough to see her words for what they were. Not regret. Fear. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being forgotten by the very man she once labeled disposable. I never replied. My silence wasn't punishment. It was truth. You can't negotiate access to a life you forfeited. A month later, I heard she'd broken up with Brandon. Or rather, he left her. Apparently, the thrill wore off once the fantasy met the moment where real commitment was expected. Ashley wasn't built for real life. She was built for highlight reels, beautiful frames with no substance holding them together. People like her don't lose relationships. They shed them like old skins whenever a newer, shinier opportunity appears. But eventually, even predators run out of prey. Her friends stopped admiring her. The invitations faded. The compliments dried up. Without someone else's success to cling to, she became what she feared most. Ordinary. And nothing terrifies a validation addict more than being unremarkable. As for me, my company scaled faster than I expected. I wasn't chased by success anymore. I was leading it. Interviews, partnerships, deals, each one was a checkpoint I once believed was out of reach. My story became a staple in entrepreneurial circles. The man who turned heartbreak into fuel. They never mentioned Ashley's name. That was the true victory. She didn't become a villain people remembered. She became a footnote in my evolution. Nothing more. People asked if I ever missed her. I didn't. But I missed the man I was before she poisoned my reflection. The one who believed love didn't keep score. The one who thought loyalty was mutual by default. That man died the moment I read her messages. What was born in his place wasn't harder or colder. It was clearer. I learned a truth no one teaches young men, but every broken one eventually discovers. Your value isn't measured by who chooses you. It's revealed by who loses you. Ashley didn't lose a husband. She lost access to my future, to my world, to the man who finally stopped waiting and started becoming. One evening, months later, I got a letter. Not digital, not typed, handwritten, messy, torn at the edges. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure I didn't need. It said, I was wrong about you. I didn't see who you were becoming. I thought ambition was loud, obvious, glamorous. I didn't realize real ambition grows in silence. You didn't need me. You never did. I needed you. I see that now. I hope someday you'll forgive me. I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer, and left it there. Not as a memory, as a warning. A reminder of the price of underestimating someone in the middle of their becoming. Here's what I know now. Some people are chapters. Some are lessons. And some are mirrors, cracked ones, that force you to see yourself differently. Ashley was all three. But the greatest gift she ever gave me was her absence. It cleared the space I needed to grow, to build, to rise. And in the end, she wasn't the woman who broke me. She was the woman who made sure I could never be broken again. The end.